In the great hall of the Justice League, there are assembled the world's 4 greatest heroes, created from the cosmic legends of the universe. Their mission, to fight injustice, to right that which is wrong, and to serve all mankind.
We're back!
Comic books are a niche market at this point, for not because, okay, it's like when they said that stuff about radio. Oh, when television came, radio is going to be dead. No, radio had to change, but radio is never going to go away as long as you have radio waves. It's a medium. People can use it. People will like it. It's not going to be as big as it was because it has more competition, but that's what it is. The same with comics. What's the biggest thing that they did that took away all of the viability that they had in terms of making more profit? They don't market it to kids. Okay, guys my age, or when you go to a comic store, you don't see a kid.
Well, you see kids, but they're not looking at comics.
No.
It's the parents coming in,
Yep.
and the kids like basically rolling on the floor. It's like, I'm saying, none of these, nothing with the bright colors, none of this calls out to the kids.
Well, why not? Let's if you guys want to talk
Because,
about that, we'll bring that.
because kids on an intrinsic level know what's for them and they know what's not for them. Their friends aren't reading the comics. Their friends aren't talking about the comics. My boy, he watches The Flash. His friends watch The Flash. They know everything about The Flash. They take quizzes on The Flash. That's how much they're into the show. If I said, hey, you want to read a Flash comic? Huh? What? There's a Flash comic? I have tons of comics all over my house. He walks past them. They might as well be furniture. He doesn't care. Why? Because nobody else is turning him on to this.
There are more avenues now, and that's the key thing. You know, kids can go into video games. Kids can go into YouTube. Kids can go into Facebook. You know, there's so many other avenues.
There's
Kids don't
always
need
been other avenues.
And we read comics.
Look, you go on the train.
We had
right
television,
now,
video games,
I
we
disagree.
read comic
When you're
books.
on the train, before people used to read books. They're not reading books anymore.
They still read books.
No, they're listening it to on
But
their
they have the
iPhone.
pad,
They have the pad.
books and
I read comics on my
there.
iPad. I read comics.
Right, but that's
I got
you,
comics
but
in my
most
bag
people
right
are not.
now.
They're listening. They're playing games on the thing.
No. That's a false equivalency, man.
Of course it's not. It's not.
It's a false equivalency.
They
have said the same thing about
Time
every
is money, and
medium.
they have to
That
separate
has
how
been
much
said about every medium, from radio through
But you can see it
television
in
through
comic
film,
books, and it's
they're
happening.
still here.
But they're not getting the news. There's basically
Because
the
they're
old
not.
clientele.
If you only market, let's say they decide, okay, Deadpool was this really big thing because it was R, and now you're only going to make R movies. Well, hey, you're already isolating yourself from a portion of the population. You're saying we're going to
That's
make
what I
our
said
money.
about Deadpool.
We're going to make our money without you. So you made money without them. Now that money's dried up because that older group has gotten to the point they're not seeing movies or they're just dead, whatever it may be. But you don't have them anymore. Who are you supposed to get? You're supposed to keep this revolving so you get other new people inside. You're not marketing this to kids.
But I totally disagree, because when the comic book market first started, it's basically on paper. Then probably moved on to TV, like the old comic books. You know what I'm trying to say?
What do you mean?
Like the old Superman, Reeves. You know, back in the
George Reeves.
But
you
you
know,
talk-
the
but
Batman.
you
But
talk-
I'm just trying to say, you're focusing on only one format, the paper format, whereas it's
Well,
evolved past
no,
that.
but if you look at-
Superheroes are now in comic books, news.
But you can't look at. I watched the George Reeves Superman.
I'm sorry to hear that.
No, I watched it in my, what was it, like late teens.
I'm sorry to hear that.
And it was, we were playing it over, shut up. They were playing it over and over again. And I was just like, I hadn't seen this. So I was just like, I wanted to, get the whole thing in my,
Yeah, but it didn't stop you from reading a comic
And then
book?
it's like, I know it's going to be less than the comic, but I wanted to see this Superman, and then I'll go back and read the
And
comic.
you were disappointed, right?
No, come on, he was I was like, when he's directing, he started directing it.
I didn't know that.
There was less, there was less Clark Kent, less Superman. There was more Jimmy Olsen and Lois all the time. And then Superman would come in the end and clean everything up. And I was just like, well, what's happening? Well, he's behind the scenes more. So he's only like, I'm coming through 2 times an episode, and that's it. But it's like, as a comic fan, like if you look at the Fleischer cartoons, they might not be as much of a story, but it's just set up of just, here's a thing. He goes out, he takes it out, there's some challenge in there, and then we have Clark Kent in the end, or Clark Kent in the beginning. But it's simple stuff, and it's like saying, hey, this is cool, now I'm going to go back and read my comics more. When you see Superman the movie, it's like, oh, this is really good.
But I disagree. So what they're saying now is that now kids will watch Flash. And so the option is, do I go and read the comic book, or do I go get the video game, or go see some other show?
They don't know the comic book exists. They don't know the comic book exists.
They are trying to avoid. They're trying to avoid the whole medium to touch. That's
what
I think. They
don't even know the comic book exists. They don't even. They will know that the Flash is a superhero. Okay, they mean all the stuff about the Flash. And if I said, "Hey, have you read a Flash comic book?" There's a what? Huh? These are kids, and they don't know
But are
what
they
a comic
reading
book
it?
is.
Now that they know, are they reading the Flash comic book?
Why? They got the
Look, that's
Flash on
what I'm trying to say.
television.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
You also have to factor in that
they're not
by
gonna do it.
95, like the way the kids were also getting it was at the newsstand, and the comic DC and Marvel, like the newsstand, this is like a waste. Like why? And this is where the kids are coming around. They in supermarkets, and they're like, "Mommy, I want this. Daddy, I want this." It's like no, so it's not accessible to kids either. They're not sitting in there when they're in transit with the. Where I got the first, but my comics, where my mother's like, "Oh, we're going to visit my mother. Let's go to the newsstand." And it's so sporadic. The comics I was getting, it was like every other month, but it felt like it was, like where we get them now, like every week new comics. It was just like whenever I get them, it'd be like, wow. But now it's like they go to the store and you can find some, but you can more find the pornos. You can find everything else before you find the comic books.
Yep. And kids are, as much as people want to put kids in this box, kids are not stupid, okay? Kids can look and tell, look, this is for me, okay? This isn't necessary, this interests me, this doesn't interest me, okay? It's no different than you step into a room and you know you're not necessarily supposed to be in that room, but you need to be in there for a few seconds. And you can see how somebody's comfort level changes when they realize they're in some place. Even if you have permission to be there, you're still like, I'm gonna stay in this one space right over here because I need to be cool with that. This is a medium created for kids. You have grown people running around in these bright primary colored outfits in order to do what? To take down criminals, to fight supervillains, all of this stuff. And they have moved it so far away from that in order to do what? To be legitimate, in order to be serious, in order to be mature. The group that you can make money off of and thereby keep your price range low. The group that doesn't care how good the paper is,
yes.
okay?
Well, yeah, that's
they went to try to make it into this magazine format, made everything more expensive, and said, no, we're just going to push this direct market. Okay, what? We can make money by showing some sex? Okay, let's do that. Let's do some more of these things. And now where are you? Those guys are either tired, like, oh man, you can't please them because you can't get the stories anymore that you need to get these guys because they're jaded or they're just cynical about it. And then you can't bring the kids in because you don't even know how to market to that group anymore.
But then I have to bring something up that D-Man brought up. Manga is selling.
This is America. It's not Japan.
No, manga is increasing in sales.
This is not Japan. It's a totally different thing.
How? I'm talking about here in the United States. I'm saying here. You go to the bookstores and you see the manga sections are huge. They're not just one row. So clearly there's growth in there occurring. You know.
And those are teenagers reading that for the most part.
Well, but if you need a market, you need somebody. You need teenagers or something. Right now,
that means you've totally seeded the youth market at that point.
I'm not saying right now.
You've totally seeded the youth market. You've totally seeded the youth market, and you had that market going up as far as about what, like 1992? You had that market, okay? You decided to no, we're going to raise prices. The page count is the same, but we're going to raise prices.
Different covers.
Okay, we're going to raise. Yeah.
Wait, get out of here.
I love the different colors.
A guy like me will buy a different cover because look, I'm going to invest. I may want to grade this. No problem. Kids don't care about the different covers. Okay, I remember some of the covers back because those covers were really good. They were cool. There was dynamic. The colors were there. Kids don't care about that. But that's your market right there because kids will get their parents to buy it. Okay, kids will come back. You could try all those new stories with them. Okay, because they haven't seen that. You could rework some of the older stories for them.
We talked about this before. So then why isn't it happening? You know, why? I'm saying
the kids.
I'm saying why isn't it working? I think they are trying to market. But I'm
Where?
saying, why isn't it
With
working?
who?
You know
Posada said that kids aren't. There was never any 8-year-old readers. And
Never.
He said that. That's it.
Are you kidding me? You're kidding me,
When
right?
I was
Yeah.
At that point, when I was really small.
You didn't know how to read yet. Okay, all right.
Well, they also, when I was growing up, you had the collection. So besides getting a comic here or there, you had Marvel Origins, you had the DC Origins. So you're just sitting around there, and even if you're not reading, either the parents are reading to you, or you're just looking at the pages, and then you get coloring books, all this stuff to read. I mean, my mother also was, when she was a kid. Well, she said when she brought us to the stand and she was like, she wanted to see what we were going to buy, and she was just hoping, like, I don't want them to buy Archie comics. Like, that's all. And she was like, as long as you buy, like, she wanted us to see she didn't tell us what to buy, but she was like, she was hoping we wouldn't go for the real kiddie ones, and she wanted us to get Superman and Batman and her descriptor and Superboy, what she read as a little girl. But, that the aspect, another thing is if you look at the real retailers, like, the retailers are not like, interested in the kids either. They're not saying, hey, here, take this, we got this free comic book day, get the stuff that looks like it work for them and give it to the kids. Like they're sitting there and they're like, there's toys, there's this, and they're like.
But even regular toys have gone down. Regular toys, action figures.
Oh, that's a shift, man.
No, it's a shift.
You're shifting, man.
I'm trying to say the same thing. Where those were very popular one time, I'm just trying to say kids have other things they can go. There's other mediums, and you keep saying, oh, they know, but they do. They have other options. They're not like the same options you had before.
It's one thing to have other options. It's another thing when you're not even trying to make them a viable option, and they're not trying to make them a viable option.